I know I do a lot of videos about the math of certain retirement decisions, but today I want to talk to you about the mindset that you need to keep in mind while you're building your retirement. Have you ever heard someone say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure? I want you to keep that in mind today while I explain the mindset shift that I'm talking about. Think about if you were building a house. It would be far more efficient to build the house that you wanted as you were building it, rather than to just build a house based on a blueprint that you had laying around, have the house completely finished, and then go room by room and decide where you want to move walls and what kind of toilet you want to make it exactly the way that you want it. It's easier to do it right the first time than to do it incorrectly, where you'd still have a house, but not the kind of house that you want, and then you go about trying to fix it into the house that you want. Investing for retirement, and specifically managing the taxes that you will pay in retirement, is like building that house. You can always find a way to lower your tax liability, but you have many more options to do so while you're working and accumulating than to only start looking at it once you've retired, once you've already built the house. Let me set a little background for you to explain what I mean. We have record deficits. We have record national debt, period. Everybody knows that. That's not news, but it's important to follow that path down the line to see exactly what that might mean for you. Now, there are only two ways to slow the train of constant debt accumulation. You can either spend less or you can bring in more money. That's it. So, when was the last time that you heard a politician talking about spending less? That's just not a likely scenario. Now, about the bringing in more money part, the government brings in money via taxes. If they need to bring in more money, they can do it one of two ways. You either have such a strong economy that more wealth is created, so the same level of taxes raises the actual dollar amount of taxes collected. That's one way. Think about it kind of like this. If the total economy was $1 million and there was a 10% tax on it, that would mean $100,000 in tax revenue would come in. Now, the same 10% tax on $10 million would be $1 million. So if the economy as a whole is larger, more actual money can be brought in without raising tax rates. This has actually happened in our country in the past. I know it sounds unbelievable. I'll show you in a minute an example if you don't believe me. Now, if that doesn't happen, the other way to bring in more money is to raise tax rates. For example, take the 10% of $1 million thing. Let's say that tax rates go up. Instead of 10%, they're now 20%. On the same size of economy, $1 million. The tax revenue has doubled. Instead of $100,000, it's now $200,000. Here's the issue. There's an extra $100,000 that was sucked out of the economy in that example, which limits additional economic growth. One of my favorite quotes, Winston Churchill has a famous quote about taxes, and I love it. He says, "I contend that for a nation to try to tax itself into prosperity is like a man standing in a bucket trying to pull himself up by the handle." It's an excellent quote. It's also true. No nation is going to tax their way into prosperity. So if we follow that trail, it seems to me that the far more likely scenario is larger levels of taxes on the existing economy, rather than the economy is just going to boom so much and grow at such a rate that at current tax levels, enough tax revenue can come in to fix the problem. And so by that logic, we're very likely to have higher taxes at some point in the future. I talk about this with my clients all the time. How can we prepare for a higher tax environment? How can we protect your portfolio to position it in a way that still allows you to reach your goals in a less tax-friendly environment than what we have today? I want to show you something. This is a screenshot from a website called usdebtclock.org. It shows a bunch of what are honestly pretty scary numbers at this point. We're closing in on $35 trillion in national debt. Look at that. 12 zeros in a trillion. That's absolutely bananas. And we're still digging the hole. You can see federal tax revenue is just under $5 trillion per year, and spending is close to $7 trillion per year. So that means that the almost $35 trillion figure continues to grow. That's not a sustainable scenario. Remember, two ways out from here: raise taxes or lower spending. Now, we don't have to eliminate the federal debt. That's not the goal. Honestly, that's just very unlikely to happen at this point. But at some point, the current path we're on, continuing to allow it to grow, is going to create some serious problems for us. Now, for the sake of comparison, let's look at the same info from the time machine from the year 2000. Now, if you recall, this was about the time when George W. Bush actually mailed out stimulus checks to everybody because we were running a surplus. They didn't just print up new money, they actually sent extra money that they had. More money was coming in than what we were spending. Doesn't that almost sound unbelievable at this point? Had I not actually lived through it, I don't know that I'd believe it, but I remember it. I was a bank teller. This was pre-direct deposit days, and everybody was coming in with their U.S. Treasury stimulus checks. It was actually kind of cool now that I think about it. You can see it here. We had a total national debt of a little over $5 trillion, which seems like a nice, cute little number now compared to where it is today. And we had about $2.2 trillion in tax revenue, money that was coming in, and only $1.8 trillion in expenses, money that was going out. We were running a surplus. More was coming in than what was going out. Now, at the time, Bush actually caught some flack for mailing out the stimulus checks as opposed to using it to pay down the debt. But regardless, you can see that over the past 20 plus years, tax revenues, what we bring in, has a little bit more than doubled, but our spending, what goes out, has increased almost fourfold. And as a result, our national debt has increased almost sixfold. Again, not a sustainable scenario. I don't say all of this to scare you, but here's the thing. The situation sucks. Unless you got $35 trillion in your couch cushions, you're not going to fix it. And so the question becomes, how can I protect myself, my family, my retirement from the situation as efficiently as possible? That's where tax planning comes in. Managing your tax liability as part of your retirement plan is a major part that's missed by a lot of folks. You can't keep doing the same things you've been doing for years on a personal level in the environment we're likely to have. What I mean there is this. For years, we've all been pumped full of stuff money into your traditional 401k. Get the tax deduction today. You'll have lower taxes in the future when you retire. Says who? The more time that goes on, the more that looks like bad advice. Unless you're making $300,000+ a year and you're in a huge tax bracket, I can make, and I have made on this channel using math, a strong case that you should be funding the Roth side of your retirement. Pay the taxes today, keep Uncle Sam out of that money tomorrow. Additionally, doing things like converting funds to Roth, using HSA accounts, tax loss harvesting, recognizing gains on appreciated assets to take advantage of the current tax code. There are lots of things that you can do here to manage your tax liability and limit your taxes. The moral of the story is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Ask your advisor to sit down and do some tax planning with you. They should be coordinating this with your accountant. They both should be looking to make sure that you're minimizing your lifetime tax liability. Not just how can we get it lower this year by kicking the can down the road. We're doing that as a country with our debt, and it's not sustainable. Don't continue doing the same things you've been doing when it comes to retirement savings. The environment has changed in a major way. Doing something about your position in that environment as soon as possible is the best path forward. If you're looking for some additional insights on some of the strategies I talked about a minute ago, I've got an entire taxes and retirement playlist. I'm going to put it right over here for you.